Welcome to the Sarpy County Board of Equalization meeting. It's Tuesday, March 28th at 3:00 p.m. Please silence all cell phones. A copy of the Nebraska Opens Meetings Act is located on the north wall of the county boardroom. Today we have present Commissioners Kelly, Klug, Warren, Mixon, and Burmeister, along with our County Administrator Dan Hoynes and our County Clerk Deb Hotaling, and our County Assessor Dan Pittman, and our County Treasurer Trace Jones. We'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item number 4 is the consent equalization agenda. Would anyone like to see any items removed from the consent agenda?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Moved to approve by Commissioner Warren, seconded by Commissioner Klug. Any discussion? Please vote.
Ayes 5, nays none, motion carries.
Item 5.1 is the minutes from March 21st, 2023.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Klug, seconded by Commissioner Warren. Any discussion? Please vote.
Ayes 4, abstain Mixon.
Item number 5.2 is tax corrections 17159. Dan Pittman, County Assessor.
Good afternoon. It's just an acceleration for a mobile home was moved.
Any questions for Dan?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Klug, second by Commissioner Kelly. Any discussion? Please vote.
Ayes 5, nays none, motion carries.
All agenda items having been addressed as published, the Board of Equalization is adjourned. All set for the Board of Commissioners. Today is Tuesday, March 28th, 2023 at 3:02 p.m. We have present today Commissioners Kelly, Klug, Warren, Mixon, and Burmeister, along with our County Administrator Dan Hoynes and our County Clerk Deb Hotaling. We'll start with Commissioners' announcements and comments, starting with Commissioner Kelly.
Nothing, thanks.
No comments, thank you.
No comment. No.
Dan?
Two things, Madam Chair. First, on the agenda, item 5.5, it's listed as Chief Deputy Bonnie Moore presenting the information. Bill Conley is going to be the staff member presenting that. So when you call that up, appreciate that. I think Bonnie's here if there's any questions, but I've asked Bill to present that. Second, I'd like to yield the remainder of my time if Matt Sexton could make his way up. Many of us will know Matt from his time with Facebook/Meta. Matt is wearing a different logo here and asked for the opportunity to come up and reintroduce himself to the board and talk a little bit about his new role. So thank you, Matt.
Thank you very much, Administrator Hoyne. Thank you, Commissioners, for this very brief moment. I've been in the community since 2018 under the Facebook Meta banner, but have recently switched to this carefully curated Google Vest. So I just wanted to professionally reintroduce myself. Since we announced here in Sarpy in 2019, our presence continues to grow. I'm trying to hit the ground running. We had a great event today in Omaha with Mayors Black, Council Bluff Mayor Walsh, and Omaha Mayor Stothert with Food Bank for the Heartland. We contributed $150,000 to help growing food insecurity needs here in Sarpy County and across their service area, and had about 3 dozen Googlers from either side of the river packing meals for about a total of 619,000 meals through today's efforts. So I wanted to keep you apprised of that and the fact that our annual grants program for Google actually opened yesterday. I'll share some information with all of your respective offices so you can disseminate that to nonprofits in the area, and we look forward to our most robust grant cycle yet, but really appreciate the time to jump in here and use your standing meeting for the update, but look forward to staying in touch under the new banner. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, Matt. Item number 4 is the consent commissioner's agenda. Would anybody like to see items removed from the consent agenda?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Warren, second by Commissioner Klug. Any discussion?
I just have a quick comment to make. You know, we kind of fly through these consent agenda things sometimes, but in this particular one, there's a appointment of 3 people that are going to provide public service to Sarpy County by serving on the Board of Adjustment. So I'd just like to publicly thank each of those individuals for stepping forward and doing civic duty. So thank you to Caleb Van Wielden, to Frank Mataya, and Deanna Kurth. So thank you, folks, for stepping forward.
Please vote.
Commissioner Warren, are you voting?
Do you need a motion? Oh, we got it, we're waiting.
No, we have a
Okay.
motion.
All right.
Ayes 5, nays none, motion carries.
Item 5.1 is the minutes.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Move to approve by Commissioner Klug, second by Commissioner Warren. Any discussion? Please vote.
Ayes 4, abstain Mixon. Motion carries.
Item 5.2 is Resolution 2023-076, award the low bid to Bayshore Contractors LLC for the concrete panel repairs project C-77-22-02 in the amount of $252,448. Beth Garber, Assistant County Administrator.
Thank you, Chairman. On March 1st, 8 bids were opened for the various concrete panel repairs project. After review, it's recommended the bid be awarded to Bayshore Contractors for $252,448. There were 7 other bids, ranged from the low bid to the high bid of $412,509.85. Work will start in April and last about 65 days. And there's a map identifying the various locations of the panel repairs. Public Works is here if you have any technical questions.
Questions for Beth or Public Works?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Move to approve by Commissioner Klug, seconded by Commissioner Kelly. Any discussion? Please vote.
Ayes 5, nays none, motion carries.
Item 5.3 is Resolution 2023-086, Collective Bargaining Agreement with the Nebraska Public Employees Local 251, American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, AFL-CIO, AFSCME Local 251, effective July 1, 2022 to June 30, 2025. Mark McQueen from Baird Home.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Well, we're at the end of the line, and you are no doubt happy to hear that. This is the 6th of 6 negotiations that we have brought to a close, 5 of 6 successfully, but with this one, we had a tentative agreement with the union. They unanimously approved the agreement. I'm going to quickly summarize it for you and answer any questions you may have. It's a 3-year agreement, expires like all of the others in June of 2025. We spent a lot of time on language in this agreement, like the others, cleaned it up to make it consistent to the other agreements. Kate Gatewood spent a lot of time with Mary Davis working on that consistency. We added some overtime clarity that didn't exist before. We clarified what the on-call pay was, enhanced that slightly, added some seniority provisions so that we could recruit former employees within a year and have them come back with the same level of seniority, with the idea being help with the recruiting and the retention issue. On the holiday schedule, Commissioner Kelly, you'll be glad to hear 10 plus 2, 10 holidays, 2 floating holidays, consistent with the rest of the county. We added some injured on duty clarity that was badly needed in the county and didn't exist, but now does in every single contract. On wages, you gave some direction some time ago on 443, 4% in year 1, 4% in year 2, 3% in year 3. That's what we have in this contract. we became aware midstream, and this will sound familiar to you, that there was some wage progression problems with the former contract. The progression table had an advancement every 2 years, every 24 months, rather than 12 months with the rest of the county. That came from a CIR decision 2 decades ago or thereabouts. We fixed that so that the wage progression is now on a 12-month schedule, like with the other contracts. And then we added some specialty pay provisions, 3% specialty pay for those with special licenses, special certifications, special skills that the county needs to hang on to. I think the suggestion for premium pay for unique skills also came from the board as well, so that's in there. We also addressed the license having to do with spraying chemicals around the county to hold on to folks who have that type of license. And then last but not least, we had a uniform reimbursement, safety boot reimbursement, and a tool allowance that didn't exist and needed to for this particular bargaining unit, given the nature of the work that they perform. So they're happy. Bargaining team consisting of Mr. Hoynes and Mary Davis and Kate Gatewood and myself are happy, and we hope you are too, and are respectfully asking for your approval.
Questions for Mark?
I just have one question. It's on the section 3. It says that employees may be hired at step 1 of the classification pay grade and advance through the steps, which is pretty consistent language. Does it prohibit somebody from being hired at a step 2 or step 3 if they have superb qualifications?
Yeah, I can't remember that specific provision, Don, and I'll pull it out of the bag. We negotiated in several units the ability to hire at an advanced step, and I just can't remember off the top of my head.
Okay, that's no big deal. I think that's a great idea. If we could, it gives the hiring managers and the offices more flexibility to attract talent too, if we can bring them in at a little bit higher grade. And if they have, for instance, if they're transferring from another similar organization or, have private sector skills that make it justifiable that.
We made that a priority through several of our negotiations.
Yeah.
And without exception, we were opposed in that effort by our collective bargaining partners, largely because nobody wants somebody else to come in with less seniority and get a higher rate of pay. So that's where the friction comes in. But
Yeah.
your point is well taken. It helps to recruit talent if you have that flexibility.
I really appreciate your efforts to standardize the steps and make them more in line with the other bargaining groups. And since this is our last collective bargaining agreement, I just want to thank you publicly for all the work and time and effort that you put in on this. You're a calm voice in a very hectic process sometimes where emotions can run high.
Some folks would disagree with you, but thank you for the.
Appreciate your leadership on it.
words.
Thank you.
Other questions for Mark?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Klug, second by Commissioner Mixon. Any discussion? Please vote.
Ayes 5, nays none, motion carries.
Item 5.
Can I have an alibi?
Sure.
I want to thank Kate too. I forgot Kate, and she was side by side with Mark the whole time, so thank you, Kate.
Yep. Special thank you to the whole team that worked on that project.
Is that
It's
an
been a-
alibi or a mulligan?
Yeah, that's right.
We'll take it, whatever it is. Item 5.4 is Resolution 2023-085, Amendment Number 1 to Project C7721-01 for engineering design services with Schemmer for widening of 168th Street from Giles Road to BNSF Railroad Bridge preliminary engineering in the amount of $106,470. Scott Bovick, Deputy Administrator.
Thank you, Commissioner. This is an agreement with Schemmer Associates. The board may remember that you hired Schemmer to look at the 168th Street corridor from Highway 370 all the way to Harrison Street. And that's a big project, big long-term project. Of special note, we have made sure that during design we followed the federal process so that at some point in the future, we're ready to do the larger project, we're eligible for federal funds. But it is a long-term project to do that expansion, and so the team, the county engineer's office, and the engineering team of Shemer, we've looked at this area and we see some growth happening, so we feel it's important to move forward with an interim improvement. If you look at the GIS map up here, the intersection of 168th and Giles, you'll know this area is Scary Acres. And this area right here is being developed for Gretna Elementary School. And we've been working with a developer who's looking at installing a fairly large apartment complex in that area. And so in looking at 168th Street, what this design contract will do is look to add a lane on the west side of that existing corridor. That'd take that entire corridor to 3 lanes. We would also do some expansion right turn lanes at the intersection of 168th and Giles. While that will serve this development, it'll also help us build capacity because long-term we'd like to expand Harrison Street and the 168th Street intersection, and so traffic will need to divert somewhere in the future, and we want to make sure that this corridor can handle it. As you know, when we do road projects, a lot of times development contributes. The apartment complex development understands that they're responsible for the lane adjacent to them. We also are working with Millard Park South development on the east. We'll be talking to them about costs associated with lane expansion adjacent to their property. Total project cost, we expect to be about $2 million. We're hoping that through some design and looking at the true need there, that might be less. But either way, we expect the surrounding development to contribute to that. Once we have the lanes and the expansion, we will go back and do a mill and overlay of that entire area so that when you're driving that corridor, everything will be even and it'll be striped appropriately out there. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions. I know the county engineer, Denny Wilson, is here as well if you have any questions for him.
Questions for Scott or for Denny?
Scott, how far north are you going on 168th from Giles? I know it's eventually going to go up to Harrison Street, but...
Just lost the map there, but to the south of the railroad bridge. So there used to be a roofing company there. Yeah, so basically from right here down to the intersection.
So my question was, the bridge that's there eventually, just can you share what we're going to do in the future on that?
The 2 bridges that are there, this one over the railroad tracks, and then this one over the waterway need to be replaced. So that's the long-term plan. I think in terms of timing and priority, the stretch from where we're going to stop this project to the north is the priority for all of 168th Street. I know that Shemer's been working on a program with us on timing, need, and funding opportunities, but yeah, both those bridges need to be addressed.
Okay, thank you.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Warren, second by Commissioner Klug. Any further discussion? Please vote.
Ayes 5, nays none, motion carries.
Item 5.5 is Resolution 2023-088, Purchase and Sale Agreement and Business Property Lease with 1246 Holdings LLC for property located at 1246 Golden Gate Drive, Papillion, Nebraska 68046, Lot 2, top of the mark replat second, for the purchase price of $1,540,000. Bill Conley, Chief Financial Officer.
Good afternoon. This agenda item, as you just mentioned, will approve the purchase of a building and property at 1246 Golden Gate Drive, otherwise known as the Sullivan Building, which will solve one of the most important and pressing facility issues at the county, that being a long-term home for our county public defender's office. With the replacement of our existing jail, which currently houses our public defender's office, an important objective was to find adequate sized, functional office space for the public defender in very close proximity to the courthouse. I've outlined in a white paper, and I've discussed with all of you the various alternatives that the team has evaluated, and I'll pause and just highlight those briefly. We looked at 3 other adjacent properties in addition to this one. We looked at moving the department within the administration building, renovating and relocating other offices so that could be accomplished. We looked at construction of a new facility, and we looked at continuing to occupy the existing jail. The recommendation before you today, made by county management to purchase the Sullivan Building, is the best course of action for county operations and for our citizens. The Sullivan Building is an ideal solution in addition to the county campus. It will allow us to move forward with the removal of the current jail next year, and will avoid annual operating costs for what will be a mostly empty building of close to $200,000 a year. Removal of the current jail when the new facility is completed opens the west edge of this campus for future development. All of this is consistent with our facilities master plan. Currently, the county has approximately $9.5 million in inheritance tax funds on hand, which will be the source of the $1.54 million purchase price. The use of inheritance tax funds for the purchase of the Sullivan Building was planned in our approved fiscal 2023 budget. In summary, the recommendation before you today is consistent with our facilities master plan. It's at a fair price as determined by an independent appraisal, was thoroughly vetted against other alternatives, is included in the fiscal 2023 budget, and adequate funds are available in the county without use of property taxes. The recommendation to purchase the Sullivan Building has my enthusiastic support. So with that, I would take any questions, and I would ask Bonnie Moore to also be available to join me if you have any questions on the contract.
Bill, you had stated you'd looked at space in this particular building, which seems to make the most sense since everything would be connected. What were the major hangups in doing that?
I might ask Beth or someone else to answer that, but my understanding of that was 2 issues. 1, you have cost, and 2 is size. You know, the facilities, the areas that were looked at were not adequate size-wise to accommodate the public defender's office, and the cost of renovation would probably equal or exceed the price of this new building.
Okay.
You want to add?
No, that's exactly right. Cost and size. And condition of the facilities.
Pardon?
And conditions, current conditions of some of the facilities we're in, just remodel costs.
I'm not following that
Some of
piece.
the buildings that we looked at, of the 3 around.
I'm not worried about the 3
Okay,
we
yep.
looked at. This building in
Yep.
particular here, I was just curious because that, to me, that seems to make the most sense. I could walk anywhere in the building, and I was just curious why that did not work.
They'll address that, yep.
I would just add, Commissioner Mixon-Port, if I may, that one of the issues is displacement. You know, one of the areas we looked at just shuffling people around going down 1102, whether it's administration or clerk or whatever, but the long-term master plan, talking 7 to 10 years out, at some point would have the public defender in this building. So this is, yes, yeah, this is a tradition, this is a transition of a 5 to 7 year period coming in, but it really, any renovation cost because of the nature of their work was going to require modifications to some level. When you weigh that against owning a building across the street, set up for law practice, it was the most economical, most efficient.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions for Bill, Beth, or Bonnie?
Yeah, I have a couple questions. This is for Beth, I think. On the due diligence clause, it says that we have 30 days to perform a inspection of the property. Have we hired somebody to do that already?
Our facilities management team has gone through the property. We'll have our architect go through the property also.
Okay, so we don't hire like a professional inspection team, or?
We have HVAC experts on staff
Okay.
and yeah.
Okay, thank you. On, I'm sorry, I'm in the purchase and sale agreement. On item 28, there's a clause that says eminent domain. Seller and buyer agree and acknowledge that this agreement is being entered into under the threat of condemnation of property. My question is, maybe this is a legal question. Why is that clause in there? Because I don't know of any threat of condemnation.
So Don, I would say, my understanding is that there are certain tax consequences related to whether something is under the threat of condemnation or not. That being said, I think the word threat of condemnation kind of has two different meanings. One is immediate, we're going to do it today, or there's the potential that we could do that if the board so chose to go that route.
Okay. So I'm asking the question because if any of the other commissioners wanted to consider modifying the resolution to change that clause, I just wanted it to be explained so they could.
Yeah, it's a great question.
Okay. Do you guys have an additional question on that?
I do have an additional question. Is there any negative to the county having that provision in the agreement?
I'm not aware of any. If this did proceed on to an actual eminent domain process, this doesn't mean that we have to do that or that we're creating any liability in a future eminent domain situation at all for us.
Okay. Well, I was just wanting to make sure there's no further monetary
This
factor in
doesn't create
play.
any additional liability for the county by having this
Okay.
language in here.
Okay. On the services, it lays out everything pretty straightforward. It covers that the tenant will pay the gas, the electricity, and the trash removal, but it omits water and sewer, so I think that's an omission.
I spoke with the seller and he's agreed to include
I mean,
that.
because I think the intent is the tenant's going to pay all utilities, right?
Correct. That was
So-
the intention.
So would we need to amend the agreement to include that?
Yes.
As part of our motion? Okay. On the, I'm sorry, I'm in Exhibit B. That's Exhibit B now. Also in Exhibit B, it says that the term of the lease will begin on 1 May, which is fine. Do we have enough time? That's pretty compressed, isn't it? Do we have some flexibility if the closing's not ready to go, that we can just slide it right without having to come back to the board for additional approval? That's a clause, I think that's in, it just says term, number 2.
Sure. It's my understanding we've got enough time. I don't think this would require additional approval by the board. If we need to make an adjustment,
Yeah.
we'd have to have an agreement with the
Well,
seller.
the only reason I think it would slide is 30 days, I don't know, that's not terribly aggressive. But if there was something that came up in the due diligence period, so I just wanted to make sure that we won't have to come back and do this again, so that it could slide right, it could be adjusted without for additional board approval, or?
Yes.
Okay. The last issue is about the security deposit. Is it not normal protocol that a security deposit is required by a tenant in a tenant landlord situation?
So I think if in a kind of a traditional sense, we have a security deposit in order to ensure that there's coverage if there's holes in the wall or the tenant skips
Yeah.
out and doesn't pay rent. We don't have those circumstances here, and the sellers agreed will now be the leasee of this to keep it in good condition.
Does the county historically not require that?
We have not traditionally required a security deposit either, so this is consistent with what we've done in the past.
Well, and the reason I ask is because the county's required to put down a $50,000 earnest deposit, yet we're not requiring.
Right, and that $50,000 is in place on the chance that the county says,
No,
sorry, we don't want this.
Yeah,
Right?
I appreciate it. I know
Sure.
what it's for, and it makes perfect sense.
Those are great questions.
Standard, but it just, the security deposit's usually standard too on a lease tenant agreement, so.
Correct.
Okay, well, doesn't seem to be of a concern, so I just wanted to clarify that.
Probably going forward, we probably start to need to look at security deposits on anything that we do. I don't know why we wouldn't do them. Everybody else, I mean, it's common practice.
I'd be happy to work with purchasing on that for future ones.
Okay.
That's all I have.
Any additional questions?
Thank you, Commissioners. Anything else?
Make a motion to approve.
Okay.
Amended?
We need to,
Oh, amended, yeah, to include in utilities, what, water and sewer.
So under item number 5 of the lease, you're amending to add
Water and
the
sewer.
tenant's
Make sure it
responsibility.
says all utilities, and then you can list them.
Angie, what number was it again?
It's number 5.
5? Okay, thanks.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion to approve as amended by Commissioner Klug, seconded by Commissioner Warren. Any discussion? Please vote.
Ayes 4, nays Kelly. Motion carries.
Item number 5.6 is Resolution 2023-090, Communications Systems and Services Supplemental Agreement, previously approved by Resolutions 2016-101 and 2020-102 with Motorola Solutions, Inc. for the installation of an ASR site with an in-building distributed antenna system, DAS, and related services for the new Sarpy County Correctional Center, SCCC, in the amount of $641,228. Ryan Marr, Corrections Director.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Resolution 2390 is needed, as indicated in the agenda, to approve an agreement between Sarpy County Motorola Solutions to install a distributed antenna system and eventually an Astro site, microsite that will provide radio communications for not only our corrections officers, our firefighters, and emergency responders. I'm recommending approval of this, as this gives us our best opportunity to get a certificate of occupancy from the fire marshal and move into the facility while we're completing work on the Astro site. So I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have regarding this project.
Any questions for Ryan?
Motion to approve.
second.
Move to approve by Commissioner Klug, seconded by Commissioner Warren. Any discussion? Please vote.
Ayes 5, nays none. Motion carries.
Thanks, Ryan. We don't need the executive session, so all agenda items having been addressed as published, the Board of Commissioners is adjourned.